Today we are talking about conspiracy theories. This is something I think is a very important, controversial subject right now, especially in the minds of us as YouTubers, YouTube proliferating these things all over online. And I think it's a discussion we're going to have throughout the next year, coming years, as we figure out how information and misinformation is, accepted throughout our society. And that being said, I think of you as someone who... I feel like you are susceptible to conspiracy theories. The way that you talk about your past, even like people in your family, why is
as
that?
Much as I'm so offended you'd say that, it's really true.
No, but
it's very true.
Okay,
you know how when someone tells you a truth about yourself and it hurts that they know it, but it's like, but you don't believe in conspiracies, but at the same time, it's really fun to play with them.
Yeah, and you don't think I'm being rude by saying that? I thought.
No.
Okay.
Because there's nothing you could point to that you actually think I believe a conspiracy. But yeah, growing up, I loved not that I ever was into astrology or magic, but something about those things definitely, even as someone who went into the sciences, was alluring to me.
What do you mean? So how did you first start? I don't think I ever had that much exposure to conspiracy theories outside of really popular ones. For me, the biggest and most prominent type of theory for me was always to do with aliens and UFOs. Okay. So I was just utterly obsessed with this idea as I was younger, and maybe because I was obsessed with the stars. I was always the kid who'd be like, there's a satellite, found a satellite, look over there at 12 o'clock, whatever, and explain 12 o'clock, that's so hard to explain.
Yeah, I know, I'm okay, that doesn't work with space, Mitch, but
I would always be the kid who'd be like, oh, wow, I totally see that satellite, but I would never see it.
You know what's so fun? When you have a flashlight that's so bright that it's like a lightsaber in the sky, and you can actually point with it.
Okay, especially if there's a bit of mist.
Yeah,
that really helps.
Anyway, so for so long, a couple of my friends and I would always be looking into UFO videos. I loved the idea of Area 51.
But is this TV shows, the internet?
Sometimes TV shows. I think it was we were the early generations of the internet and these weird websites being made that hosted video clips that were of blurry things in the sky or shooting things through the sky. And I remember watching so many conspiracy Area 51 videos about people taking videos and traveling there and trying to capture footage. And if you don't know, Area 51 was a region that they believed that the government was hosting alien technology, aliens had crashed, they had taken their bodies, kind of Independence Day with Will Smith.
So were you and your friends actually building friendships around believing this?
For sure. We would fully stare at the night sky looking for UFOs, and anytime I'd see a weird cloud, I'd be like, oh my God, I saw a UFO today, I swear. But I just remember one distinct experience, and in retrospect, I'm I guess it could have been a shooting
UFO
star. No, but it was the brightest thing I've ever seen in the sky, and the way it moved was very scary. And it was just shone in the sky and then fell down slowly and then just disappeared. But and to this day, I've never seen a shooting star look like that. So it just we were all screaming.
Okay, you have heard it here first, people.
First-hand evidence.
There was a UFO spotted above Guelph, Ontario in the year 1998 by Mitch.
Okay.
I'm just telling you,
it
was
letting
real.
you know how much deeper this gets, though, because this is where the true conspiracy starts, and this is where I'm in grade. I'm 11, 12, starting to use the internet, early internet days. There was a really big conspiracy about this thing called Planet X. Have you heard of that?
Honestly,
some people also know of it called Nibiru or something like that.
Okay.
So basically,
I was fully not in this realm.
I was on these forums. I was
sucking my thumb and listening to Celine Dion. Okay, continue.
So there was this theory and belief in people who perpetrated it that there's Planet X is this massive planet about 4 times the size of Earth that is in the sun's in rotation with Earth, but so far out we couldn't see it, but every 3,700 years or something like that.
In rotation with Earth or in rotation with the sun?
Because
you gotta get your facts straight if you believe this.
But the way that people would and I didn't understand science at this time, so the idea was that it was gonna part of its trajectory would be to pass Earth every 3,700 years, and they believed there was two different theories here. One was that the planet itself was going to just cause havoc on Earth because of its gravitational pull. They would say the Earth's magnetic field was going to flip and all these kind of things that were supposed to bring apart doomsday. But the one I was more into was that this Planet X had aliens on it. and every 3,700 years they would interact with humans, and that was the basis for like gods in the original, like from like ancient civilizations. Had seen like UFOs come down. They had helped them like build the pyramids. Like I had all these beliefs that maybe like aliens would. It was supposed to be like in 2003 they were supposed to come back. The planet's like on the trajectory again, and the aliens will be
You
back.
are so. I'm like you're convincing me the way you're speaking. Okay.
I just remember being on forums and like reading and telling people, and like people telling me.
Were you like, Mom, the aliens are gonna come?
I just think I would tell my friends about it. I don't think I ever told my mom because I was at that age where I like wasn't like discussing my conspiracies with my mom. But yeah, I genuinely believe that. And then I don't know. I guess I just fell off of the bandwagon eventually when it like didn't happen. Because I wanted to say, like...
Well, what do you mean? Why would
is the conspiracy, like, the biggest conspiracy of all time, like, Y2K?
Well, yeah, Y2K was so interesting. Oh, my God.
It was like, the whole world was fooled with that one.
Well,
I still don't understand it to this day.
Well, they thought that because we had built everything. I think it was a really interesting time of computers and the knowledge of them being new enough that it was a really exciting thing to get behind thinking happened. And there was a computer programmer in my neighborhood who was convinced that Y2K was seriously going to have a giant issue. And they were intelligent.
My uncle couldn't be at New Year's Eve because he had to be at his job in case something happened.
Well, what was his job?
He worked for the government, but he works in computers.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it was obviously a conspiracy theory in the end, I'm sure, to some extent. But there was a lot of, like, important people convinced that something might go wrong. I just mean,
like, retrospectively, I'm like, were we not all just believing the craziest
my parents were like, I think, again, like, I wasn't that into conspiracy theories, that they were kind of like, lol, Y2K, not a big deal. But then when this really, like, like, their only computer science friends started to freak out, like, my parents bought water in canned goods.
No.
Yeah. I remember that. I remember that because they were just like, well, we might as well. Frank over here is, like, kind of confused.
What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, and I just remember like being so weirdly excited for that New Year's, and just like when it hit, like nothing happening, being like, okay, good.
Disappointed. Oh, I was like, well, that was boring. The lights didn't even turn on.
Yeah, like hoping like that. So the conspiracy theories that I believe in are as of late.
Oh, wow. Like what?
So one of my personal faves is that Avril Lavigne has actually died and been replaced by a body double. Have you heard this conspiracy theory?
Never, ever. I've heard that about like the Beatles drummer Ringo Starr, I think, or some famous people like that got replaced. But
you didn't know Avril Lavigne? No, so Avril Lavigne currently walking amongst us is not the Avril Lavigne that we remember, the skater boy aficionado.
Okay.
It is actually that she has passed away and she has been replaced by a new person.
By a lookalike, by a doppelganger.
By a lookalike, also very similar voice, but I mean, it is. I don't exactly know the details of it, but if you go on Tumblr, there are a lot of specific.
So when did it change? Like, when was the crossover?
Oh, about 6 years ago, May 17th, I believe, was the exact date.
Actually, like, do people believe that that's the date?
I kind of made that up, but I mean, it has a ring to it to me.
Like, people like analyze her voice and they're like, it's slightly different tone.
I love Avril Lavigne. Growing up, I grew up in a small town of Napanee. I love her. Napanee near Ontario. My dad used to drive. When we would drive by it, he would like turn into Napanee, and I would like scream, and I would get the Avril Lavigne pizza at the pizza place.
My God.
Oh, I loved her. And honestly, she was making hits, and then I don't know, 6 years ago she stopped making hits. So where did that brain go? Okay, so that's one. The other one is, I don't know if this counts, but Poot Lovato. Do you know about Poot?
I love Poot.
I love Poot Scoot and Boogie. So I don't know if you guys also know this, but Demi Lovato has a sister who she kept in a basement for years, named Poot Lovato, who came out recently to say that, in fact, she had been captive down in a basement for years, and there hasn't been much talk of her recently, but she does exist. There's pictures of her online, and I think that's a conspiracy theory that I definitely bought into.
Wow, you actually believe that?
That Poot Lovato is real, yeah. I mean, a lot of people laugh at Poot Lovato, but I'm like, no, that is she needs autonomy. Yeah. And I love her. Haven't you heard her song?
No.
My name is Poot Lovato.
What are you talking?
She sounds a bit like a snake, like she's almost like speaking in tongues. Anyways.
So weird.
It's a really great song. Look it up.